Зараз, секунду. Да, бо я не знаю. Зараз там якісь правки були. Четверта, третя. Це гаразд. Шановні колеги, за київським часом 10:00, згідно з постановою Кабінету міністрів України від 12.01.22 номер 44 із змінами, затвердженого нею порядку присудження ступеня доктора філософії та скасування рішення разової спеціалізованої вченої ради закладу вищої освіти, наукової установи про присудження ступеня доктора філософії, наказом ректора Західноукраїнського національного університету номер 414 від 26.06.2025 року на підставі рішення Вченої ради Західноукраїнського національного університету, протокол номер 8 від 26.06.2025 року, створена спеціалізовану вчену раду ДФ 58 082 078 Західноукраїнського національного університету з правом прийняття до розгляду та присвоєння проведення разового захисту дисертації Тін Хе на здобуття ступеня доктора філософії в галузі знань 05, соціальні та поведінкові науки за спеціальністю 053 психологія та затверджено склад разової спеціалізованої вченої ради ДФ 58 082 078 Західноукраїнського національного університету. Згідно з порядком присудження ступеня доктора філософії та скасування рішення разової спеціалізованої Вченої ради закладу вищої освіти, наукової установи про присудження ступеня доктора філософії, пункт 27, захист дисертації повинен мати характер відкритої наукової дискусії, в якій зобов'язані взяти участь здобувач, голова та усі члени разової спеціалізованої вченої ради. Під час атестації здобувача члени разової ради повинні оцінити науковий рівень його дисертацій та наукових публікацій з урахуванням дотримання ним академічної доброчесності, а також встановити рівень набуття здобувачем теоретичних знань, відповідних умінь, навичок та компетентностей. Перевірка на доброчесність дисертації Тін Хе виконана із використанням програми Turnitin Similarity. Текст дисертації здобувачки за результатами перевірки на наявність академічного плагіату, фабрикування чи фальсифікування не містить запозичень без належного посилання на джерело, що відповідає критерію дотримання здобувачкою академічної доброчесності. У разі надходження до закладу звернень інших осіб з оцінкою дисертації, разова рада озвучує їх під час публічного захисту дисертацій та з урахуванням результатів їх розгляду приймає відповідне рішення. Такі звернення беруться до розгляду у разі їх надходження не пізніше, ніж за 3 робочих дні до дня захисту дисертації. Хочу повідомити, звернень від інших осіб у встановлені терміни не поступало. Заклад забезпечує трансляцію захисту дисертації в режимі реального часу на офіційному веб-сайті Західноукраїнського національного університету, а також відеозапис трансляції захисту дисертації. Після прийняття разовою спеціалізованою вченою радою рішення про присудження ступеня доктора філософії заклад протягом 3 робочих днів оприлюднює рішення разової ради про присудження ступеня доктора філософії та відеозапис трансляції захисту дисертації на офіційному веб-сайті ЗУНУ з можливістю вільного перегляду. Шановні колеги, заслухайте інформацію про здобувачку. Згідно з поданими документами, Тін Хе народилася у 1983 році, громадянка Китайської Народної Республіки. Після закінчення у 2014 році Університету електроніки і технологій Китайська Народна Республіка отримала кваліфікацію освітній ступінь магістр за спеціальністю розробка програмного забезпечення в сфері інженерії. У 2021 році вступила до аспірантури Західноукраїнського національного університету згідно з наказом номер 171 від 29.04.2021 року на денну форму навчання за рахунок коштів фізичних осіб за спеціальністю 053 «Психологія». Призначено науковим керівником доктора психологічних наук, професора кафедри психології та соціальної роботи Західноукраїнського національного університету Шандрука Сергія Костянтиновича. У зв'язку із зміною напрямку наукового дослідження призначено науковим керівником доктора психологічних наук, професора, завідувача кафедри психології та соціальної роботи Західноукраїнського національного університету Єрняка Андрія Несторовича, згідно з наказом номер 353 від 02.06.2025 року. Успішно виконала освітньо-наукову програму та після завершення навчання за акредитованою освітньо-науковою програмою отримала академічну довідку номер 99 від 04.06.2025 року, висновок наукового керівника, доктора психологічних наук, професора, завідувача кафедри психології та соціальної роботи Західноукраїнського національного університету Єрняка Андрія Несторовича, які подані в атестаційній справі. З липня 2006 року і дотепер викладач університету Хе Тін, секретар комітету Китайської партії, школи іноземних мов, школи міжнародної освіти, університету Хе Тін, Китайська Народна Республіка. Тін Хе звернулася до структурного підрозділу кафедри психології та соціальної роботи Західноукраїнського національного університету із письмовою заявою щодо отримання висновку про наукову новизну, теоретичне і практичне значення результатів дисертації. Успішно пройшла публічну презентацію наукових результатів дисертації та її обговорення на фаховому засіданні кафедри психології та соціальної роботи 16 червня 2025 року, протокол номер 16. Результати обговорення та проведення презентації відображені у висновку про наукову новизну, теоретичне та практичне значення результатів дисертації з пропозицією щодо кандидатур складу разової спеціалізованої вченої ради із захисту кваліфікаційної роботи на присудження ступеня доктора філософії за спеціальністю 053 «Психологія». Здобувачка звернулася до Вченої ради ЗУНУ з письмовою заявою про утворення разової спеціалізованої вченої ради. За результатами розгляду заяви Вченою радою, протокол номер 8 від 26.06.2025 року, та на його підставі видано наказ номер 414 від 26.06.2025 року про утворення разової спеціалізованої вченої ради для присудження ступеня доктора філософії у складі 5 осіб, голови разової ради, 2 рецензентів та 2 опонентів. 27 червня 2025 року оприлюднено електронну копію дисертації у форматі PDF з текстовим шаром з накладеним електронним підписом здобувачки та інформацією про склад разової ради, посилання на веб-сайт, де здійснюватиметься трансляція захисту дисертації. Подано друкований примірник дисертації, підписаний здобувачкою до бібліотеки закладу, електронний примірник до Державної наукової установи «Укрінтеї», а також до локального репозитарію закладу. Інформацію про утворення разової спеціалізованої вченої ради подано до інформаційної системи НАЗЯВО 1 липня 2025 року. Усі документи, які представлені до спеціалізованої вченої ради, оформлені відповідно до вимог чинного законодавства. Рецензія рецензента та відгуки опонентів були надані вчасно 20, 26, 27 серпня 2025 року та розміщені в електронному вигляді на офіційному веб-сайті університету з накладеним електронним підписом, а також подано інформацію про дату, час та місце захисту та розміщено оголошення про захист дисертації Тін Хе у розділі оголошень. 1 вересня 2025 року подано повідомлення до інформаційної системи Національного агентства із забезпечення якості вищої освіти про дату, час і місце проведення публічного захисту кваліфікаційної роботи Тін Хе. Згідно з пунктами 13, 14, 17, 22 постанови КМУ від 12 січня 2022 року номер 44 із змінами, та затвердженого нею порядку присудження ступеня доктора філософії та скасування рішення разової спеціалізованої вченої ради закладу вищої освіти, наукової установи про присудження ступеня доктора філософії. До спеціалізованої вченої ради надійшли всі необхідні документи і матеріали. Дозвольте відрекомендувати членів нашої разової спеціалізованої вченої ради ДФ 58 082 078. Рецензент Ятищук Анастасія Анатоліївна, кандидатка психологічних наук, доцентка кафедри психології та соціальної роботи Західноукраїнського національного університету Міністерства освіти і науки України. Опоненти: Кононенко Оксана Іванівна, докторка психологічних наук, професорка кафедри соціальної роботи Одеського національного університету імені Мечникова Міністерства освіти і науки України. Фоменко Каріна Ігорівна, докторка психологічних наук, професорка кафедри психології Харківського національного педагогічного університету імені Сковороди Міністерства освіти і науки України. Саврасов Микола Володимирович, доктор психологічних наук, доцент, професор кафедри загальної психології Державного вищого навчального закладу Донбаський державний педагогічний університет Міністерства освіти і науки України. І я, голова ради, Хазратова Нігора Вікторівна, докторка психологічних наук, професорка кафедри психології та соціальної роботи Західноукраїнського національного університету Міністерства освіти і науки України. Прошу членів ради підтвердити свою присутність підписами у реєстраційній картці. Офіційно присутні тут члени ради, рецензенти Ятищук Анастасія Анатоліївна, опоненти Кононенко Оксана Іванівна, Саврасов Микола Володимирович та я, голова ради Хазратова Нігора Вікторівна, підтверджуємо свою присутність підписами особисто. Хочу зазначити, що офіційна опонентка Фоменко Каріна Ігорівна бере участь в засіданні разової спеціалізованої вченої ради з використанням відеозв'язку Zoom. Ця програма забезпечує відкрите голосування відповідно до пункту 28 постанови КМУ від 12 січня 2022 року номер 44. Шановні колеги, прошу перевірити якість зв'язку опонентку Фоменко Каріну Ігорівну.
Вітаю всіх.
Чи добрий зв'язок?
Добрий зв'язок, всіх вітаю, я вас всіх чую. Сподіваюся,
Прошу
ви мене чуєте.
офіційну опонентку Фоменко Карини Ігорівни підтвердити присутність на засіданні разової спеціалізованої вченої ради підписом голови ради. Чи даєте ви на це дозвіл?
Так.
За реєстраційною карткою з 5 членів разової спеціалізованої вченої ради присутні на засіданні 5 членів ради. З них докторів з наукового напряму, за яким підготовлено дисертацію, 4. Отже, засідання разової спеціалізованої вченої ради правочинне. Є пропозиція розпочати засідання. Чи є інші пропозиції? Немає. Дякую. Всі члени ради згідні розпочати засідання. На порядку денному захист дисертації Тін Хе на тему «Вербальна креативність у структурі професійних творчих здібностей», поданої на здобуття ступеня доктора філософії за спеціальністю 053 «Психологія галузі знань 05 соціальні та поведінкові науки». Чи є інші пропозиції щодо порядку денного? Немає. Оскільки інших пропозицій немає, пропоную проголосувати за затвердження порядку денного підняттям руки. Хто за? 5 членів ради за. Хто проти? Немає. Утримались? Немає. Згідно із порядком присудження ступеня доктора філософії та скасування рішення разової спеціалізованої вченої ради закладу вищої освіти, наукової установи про присудження ступеня доктора філософії, засідання ради проводиться державною або за бажанням здобувачки англійською мовами. Із здобувачкою погоджено мова захисту – англійська. Чи є якісь заперечення? Немає. Здобувачка, чи підтверджуєте, щоб захист проходив англійською мовою? Ні. Отже, мова засідання – англійська. Dear colleagues, according to the agenda, the floor for presenting the main provisions of the dissertation is given to the applicant. There is a proposal to determine the regulations for the report up to 15 minutes. Are there any objections? None. Please, He Tін, you have the floor.
Thank you. Honorable Chairman, members of the one-tied specialized academic council, I present to your attention the results of a theoretical and applied study on the topic of qualification paper, verbal creativity in the structure of professional creative abilities. In modern psychological sense, the phenomenon of verbal creativity is present in almost all paradise as one of the most intriguing yet convergent phenomenon. The scientific relevance of studying verbal creativity in the system of professional creative abilities of a specialist and its psychological features is determined by the student insufficient level of development of this issue, as well as the need for the systematic view of the root of verbal creativity in the professions and success for future specialists. The aim of the research is to identify the psychological features of formations and conditions of target development of verbal creativity with the assistance of a specialist professional's creative abilities. The object of the study is the phenomenon of verbal creativity of a specialist. The subject of the study is the psychological features, conditions of development, typologies of verbal creativity, and its place in the structure of specialist professional creative abilities. Based on the aim, object, and subject of the study, certain tasks were defined and addressed in the course of the dissertation. In the processes of studying the theoretical foundations of verbal creativity with the system of professional creative abilities, the following was carried out: an analysis of the phenomenon of verbal creativity in psychology, a psychological analysis of the professional activities of individual specialists, a study of the problems of creative abilities in the analysis of professionals' activities. As a result of theoretical analysis of the problems of verbal creativity, it was defined as the ability to generate new and original ideas, complex thought and expressions in the verbal form. This presupposes the use of language to create new notions, images, solutions, or emotions through words. It has been shown that verbal creativity is an important tool for personal expressions and social expressions. It is part of a range of professional creative abilities. Thus, verbal creativity acts as a key factor in learning, culture, and professional activity. It arouses the generations of original ideas and solutions that are essential in the modern world. The ability to manipulate words and create new expressions is extremely valuable in literature, advertising, redactions, and many other fields. Research shows that verbal creativity develops under the influence of multiple factors, including the social environment, motivations, emotions, intelligence, and language skills. Studies also indicate that examining verbal creativity can reveal an individual's creative abilities, enhance critical thinking, and improve the ability to solve complex problems. Overall, verbal creativity is an essential component of personal and professional development, opening new possibilities of learning and social integration. Understanding its mechanisms can serve as a foundation of the development of innovative approaches in the educational process and a psychological and pedagogical practice. Empirical analysis of verbal creativity with the system of professional creative abilities was focused on organizing and selecting research methods for the study of the specialist verbal creativity, developing the methodology and synthesizing of the experimental work, determining the research sample, designing psychodiagnostic tools for studying verbal creativity of an individual, identified the psychological correctness of the verbal creativity in students and working professionals. For students, the ability to engage in creative reference in the connect with the flexibility, originality, and elaborations of verbal creativity. Rigidity of thinking generally connects negatively with feasibilities of verbal creativity, but positively with elaboration. Professional perspective of verbal creativity developments was identified. Psychological predictors of specialist verbal creativity was identified. All indicators of verbal creativity are proactively determined by indicators of creative activity and verbal intelligence. The programs of psychological support for the development of verbal creativity in future professional aimed at creating psychopedagogical conditions for students' creative activity and the development of their verbal creativity. The main broad of the program consists of the training module designed to develop verbal fluency as the ability to quickly generate ideas, expand them briefly and concisely, think verbally with speed, and develop divergent thinking. Originality of verbal creativity was the ability to produce original, innovative, creative ideas and to extend them orally and in writing. elaborations of verbal creativity as the ability to detail and refine creative ideas and expand them orally and in writing. Alongside the development of convergent thinking, feasibilities of the verbal creativity, together with overcoming resistance to closure, which involves fostering the ability to thinking feasible, overcoming rigidity of thinking, and removing creative barriers. The implementations of the programs have a positive effect on indicators of originality, fluency, elaboration, feasibilities, abstractness of named, and resistance to closures of verbal creativity in future professionals. The general conclusions are formulated in the dissertation. The report is complete. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. What questions do you have for the applicant? According to the regulations, all attendees of the meeting are entitled to ask questions, and members of a board are required to do so. Please, Doctor of Psychological Sciences, Professor Oksana Ivanivna Kononen.
I have two questions. The first one, please explain the correlation between creativity and professional training.
Thank you for your questions. Allow me provide an answer. Research indicators that the development of creative can be integrated into professional training, thought, curriculums, and emphasize critical thinking and experimentation. However, despite innate abilities, creative is also shaped by the social cultural context and the conditions in which an emergent function. Creating a supportive environment that fosters innovative ideas and experimentation is an ancient component of the developing creative skills. That's my answer. Thank you.
Oh, okay. The second question, which method did you use during the empirical study of the research program?
Thank you for your questions. Allow me to provide an answer. To achieve the research objective, the following diagnostic tools were employed. Andorra's test, Meinicker's verbal creativity test in warnings, modification, Meinicker's verbal creativity test in Gagina's modification, the experiment in telepathy, meta creativity abilities by Sylvester Barton's critical thinking questionnaire, must for diagnostic rigidity, and in addition, verbal creativity where specialists was accepts use the adult's original test. That's my answer. Thank you.
Are you satisfied with the answers, Oksana Ivanivna?
Thank you, yes.
Please, Doctor of Psychological Sciences, Professor Karina Igorівна Fomenko.
Thanks. I also have two questions. The first one, please justify your authorial definition of the concept verbal creativity.
Thank you for your questions. Allow me to provide an answer. Verbal creativity is a key factor in learning, culture, and professional activities, as it enabled the generations of original ideas and solutions, which are highly valuable in the modern world. The ability to manipulate words and create new expressions is particularly important in literature, advertising, rhetoric, and many other fields. Research demonstrates that verbal creativity is shaped by the multiple factors. including the social environment, motivations, emotions, intelligence, and language skills. That's my answer. Thank you.
Thanks. And the second question, how are verbal creativity and verbal intelligence connected, correlated?
Thank you for your questions. Allow me to provide an answer. The study of the relationship between the verbal creativity and professional creative abilities has shown that overall, verbal creativity positively correlates with the verbal intelligence. In particular, the speed and flexibility of verbal creativity are positively associated with speed, ability, and the logical selections of words, which are supported by inductive skills. The speed, originality, and elaborations of verbal creativity positively correlates with the ability to express when the consistent to find originals as the companies. Ability is positively linked to the elaborations of verbal creativity. The capacity for the generalization and classification as characteristic of verbal intelligence are also positively related to verbal creativity. Specifically to elaborations, originality, and above all, the flexibility. That's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm satisfied.
Are you satisfied? Okay, thank you. Please, Doctor of Psychological Sciences, Professor Микола Володимирович Саврасов.
I have the following question. The first one is, what is the role of communicative competence in the development of verbal creativity and in the process of professional formation?
Thank you for your questions. Allow me to provide an answer. Verbal creativity is connects with the communicative competence, which enhance the intuitiveness in 10% interactions. A favorable educational environment and support from teachers and peers stimulate the development of verbal creativity in children and young people. During adolescence and in the period of professional formation, verbal creativity becomes particularly relevant, helping in self-expression and the formations of individuals' identity. An important aspect is that verbal creativity can manifest of the different formats, from aesthetic literature to public speaking. Confirmed is universality. That's my answer. Thank you.
Thanks. And my second question is, please characterize the typological features of verbal creativity in applicants and practicing specialists.
Thank you for your questions. Allow me to provide an answer. In the course of the improvement research, 4 types of verbal creativity amongst future and practicing specialists was identified. The first type was formed by the high indicators of elaborations, flexibility, fluency, extempnis, and of title, originality, and moderate indicators of resistance to closures, and we called sufficient verbal creativity. The second type was formed by raw indicators of elaboration, flexibility, and extempnis of title, moderate indicators of originality, fluency, and resistance to closure, and we called insufficient verbal creativity. The third type was formed by higher indicators of elaboration, flexibility, fluency, extempnis of title, originality, and resistant to closures, and we called high verbal creativity. The fourth type was formed by the lowest indicators of elaboration, feasibility, fluency, aptness of title, originality, and resistance to closure, and we called low verbal creativity. That's my answer. Thank you.
Are you satisfied?
Yes.
Thank you. Please, candidate of psychological sciences, Анастасія Анатоліївна Ятищук.
My first question is, how do psychological predictors affect such an indicators as elaboration in verbal creativity?
Thank you for your questions. Allow me to provide an answer. Based on the identified psychological predictors of verbal creativity among specialists, it was established that the elaborations in verbal creativity is positively influenced by the indicators of creative activity, verbal logical thinking, and memory, and negatively influenced by the rigidness and materiality. That's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you for the full answer. And my second question is, in what way does verbal creativity influence the development of professional creative abilities?
Thank you for your questions. Allow me to provide an answer. The study of verbal creativity can reveal an individual's creative abilities, improve critical thinking, and enhance the ability to solve complex tasks. Overall, verbal creativity is an important competence of personal and professional development, opening new perspectives of learning and social intelligence. Understanding its mechanisms can serve as the base of the developing innovative approaches in the educational process and its psychopedagogical activities. Thank you. That's my answer. Thank you.
Are you satisfied, Анастасія Анатоліївна?
Yes, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you. I also have questions. The first question is, what do you understand by the concept of formation of professional creative abilities?
Thank you for your questions. Allow me to provide an answer. The formation of professional creative abilities is a complex process that requires the integrations of skills such as communication, creativity, and critical thinking. This, in turn, contributes to better attention exchange in the profession, enhance comparativeness, and opening new opportunities of creative growth. The professionalism of the specialist, based on knowledge, skills, and directional knowledge, determines the quality of the work's performance and facet, trust among colleagues and clients. That's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you. The second question is, representatives of which groups of respondents were included to the empirical study of verbal creativity of the individual?
Thank you for your questions. Allow me to provide an answer. The psychometric samples consist of 125 bachelor's degree students of WNU, evenly distributed by genders. The research sample include 170 bachelor's degree students studying in different societies. Another part of the sample consists of 97 employed professionals. That's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you. I am satisfied. Are there any further questions for the applicant from the members of the Specialized Academic Council? If there are no more questions, we proceed to the next part of our defense, the review by the reviewer. Maybe we have questions? No. The floor is given to the reviewer, candidate of psychological sciences, associate professor of the Department of Psychology and Social Work at West Ukrainian National University, Анастасія Анатоліївна Ятищук.
Thank you. As the full text of review is presented on the website, we shall focus on the key aspects. So, the relevance of the topic. The modern information society imposes new requirements on specialists, among which the key are the ability to adapt quickly to changes, find original solutions, generate innovative ideas, and present them effectively. Among the various types of creativity, verbal creativity plays a leading role, manifesting in the ability to generate original and imaginative linguistic constructs that enhance both the communicative and intellectual potential of an individual. The relevance of this research is further reinforced by growing interest in psychology and pedagogy toward creative as an integral person quality that combines cognitive, emotional, and motivational components. Despite the significant number of studies on creative in general, verbal components remain relatively underexplored. Thus, the dissertation by Tin He, Verbal Creativity in the Structure of Professional Creative Abilities, is both timely and socially significant. Those we stop on remarks and discussion points. Despite the high scientific values and overall positive assessment of the dissertation, certain aspects of the work require further reflection and may serve as a foundation for prospective scientific exploration. In the first chapter, some theoretical propositions are considered somewhat fragmentarily without a sufficiently critical analysis of existing approaches by different authors. This provides room for a deeper conceptual understanding of the problem in future studies. Second, the broad range of the participants in the empirical study, from higher education students to practicing professionals, slightly complicate the accuracy of the interpretation of the obtained results, as the specific of verbal creative manifestation may vary depending on the age category. It would have been advisable to place greater emphasis on the particularities of individual age group. In the second and third chapter, the presentation of empirical findings, particularly in the form of tables and figures, is it at excessively detailed. While this demonstrates the thoroughness of the research, it also somewhat hinders on focus the key aspect of the problem. There are minor stylistic inaccuracy in the text related to the selection of English equivalents for certain terms and concepts. A more precise harmonization of terminology would contribute to a clearer and more ambiguous understanding of the research results by the international scientific community. These remarks are of a discussion-based nature and do not diminish the overall scientific and practical significance of the qualification work. On the contrary, they highlight promising avenues for the continued development of research in the area of verbal creativity and its role in professional activities. About the compliance with academic integrity, an analysis of the content of the qualification work, the applicant's scientific publication, as well as the results of the dissertation text, checked for original use in the Turing similarity system, confirmed that the result is a result of the applicant's independent scientific work. The dissertation contains no sign of academic plagiarism. All borrowed material from literature sources is properly formatted and correctly cited, which confirm adherence to the principle of academic integrity. Furthermore, the approbation of the research result and the presence of publication in professional journals attend to the applicant's scientific independence and the validity of the conclusion presented. About the conclusion and compliance with the requirements established by the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine, the dissertation by Tin He, Verbal Creativity in the Structure of Professional Creative Abilities, represented a completed scientific work distinguished by its relevance, novelty, and practical significance. The results obtained have both scientific and applied values for psychological science and practice. The qualification work complies with the requirements of the resolution of Cabinet of Ministry on Ukraine, on approval of the procedure for awarding the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, and the repeal of decision of one-time specialized academic council of a higher education institution or research institution on awarding the degree of Doctor of Philosophy dated 12/01/2022, number 44, as well as with the requirements for dissertation formatting approved by the Order of Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine dated 12/01/2017, number 40. Therefore, it is concluded that the dissertation meets the standards required for qualification scientific works for the award of the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, and it's also deserved to be conferred the academic degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the field of knowledge 05, Social and Behavioral Sciences, in the specialty 053, Psychology. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Anastasia Anatolievna. Please, I invite the applicant to respond to the reviewer's comments.
We sincerely thank the reviewer for their thoughts and analysis of the direction and valuable feedback. Allow me to give a few clarifications. We partially agreed with the first comment regarding sound fragmentaries in the critical analysis of Verbal's approach to the studied problems. However, the percentage of the scholars' quotations in the dissertation was carried out through the considerations of most relevant scientific view on the problems under study. We also partially agreed with the second comment. Since the choice of the age range of participants in empirical studies was made in full accordance with the aim and objective of the research, we fully agreed with the third and fourth comments and will take them into account in the future scientific work. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the reviewer satisfied with the applicant's response?
Yes.
Anastasia Anatolievna, can we include in the decision of the specialized academic council those comments with which the applicant has agreed?
Yes, you can include.
The floor is given to the opponent, Doctor of Psychological Sciences, Professor, Head of the Department of Social Psychology of Odessa Mechnikov National University, Oksana Ivanivna Kononenko.
I would like to express my sincere gratitude for the invitation to serve as an opponent for this dissertation. Esteemed Chair of the Special Academic Council, as the full text of review has been posted in the university website in accordance with the requirements, I would like to focus on the main points and then present my introduction, comments, and conclusion reading the review. The dissertation research is destination by high level of the scientific, reasoning, and practical significance. The author has demonstrated the ability to conduct independent scientific research, has shown originality in solving research problems, as has presented results that have theoretical and practical value. Without denying the importance of the scientific provision and conclusion, it is necessary to note a number of discussions. The first chapter of the dissertation presents a wide range of the theoretical source and takes into account modern research and psychological science, which confirms the author's thorough preparation, but some theoretical aspects and are considerated, mainly of the fragments without critical reflection on the approaches of different scholars. The dissertation, in particular, in the empirical part, chapter 2, presents the result of this psychodiagnostic study of both higher education students and practitioners, determining of the level of verbal creativity, development of the draw, general conclusions, but the age range of the participants in the experiment is too wide from student to practitioners. Without the specific definitions of the personal characteristic of the person of the certain age groups, so we believe that this limits to some extent the study of manifestations of verbal creativity, taking into account the characteristic inherent in the particular age group. The third chapter provides a thorough analysis of the results of testing, of effectiveness of the problem for the development of verbal creativity in the system of professional creative abilities of the individual. But the presentation of the experimental data in the form of the table and the figures is sometimes only detailed on the oversaturate, which makes of the difficult of the focus of the key aspect of the problem under study. The text of the dissertation contains certain stylistic flows, especially with regard to certain terms, concept of the expression. So the more careful selection of the corresponding English language versions in the term in the semantic meaning would contribute and deeper understanding of the text in accordance with the main point of the result of the study of verbal creativity. The remarks made do not reduce of the overall positive assessment of the qualification work, but only indicate the complexity of the research issue. It can serve as a guide for the further research. The qualification work of He of the verbal creativity in the structure of professional creative ability is the completed scientific research which the performed independently solves the urgent problem of the field of psychology, has significant theoretical and practical significance. The theoretical result obtained are properly scientifically substantiated, are new and have not been previously defended. Verification work is terms in content, object, subject of research, conclusion, recommendation correspond to the specialty 053 psychology. Taking into account the relevance of the study, the novelty, the theoretical provisions, the practical value of the results, the level of their coverage in publications in scientific journals. We conclude the dissertation complete with the procedure of awarding the degree of doctor in philosophy and canceling the discussion of the one-time special academic council of the higher education institution. Scientific institution is to award to the degree of the Doctor of Philosophy. We propose the resolution of the Cabinet of Ministry of Ukraine and is also Team C deserves to be awarded the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the specialty 053 Psychology and Field Knowledge 05 Social and Behavioral Science. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Dear Oksana Ivanivna, please, I invite the applicant to respond to the comments of the official opponent.
We sincerely thank the reviewers for their thought analysis of the dissertations and valuable feedback. Allow me to give a few clarification. We partly agreed with the first comment, noting that the more detailed elaboration of theoretical source and modern psychological studies on the development of verbal creativity with the system of professional creative abilities would have scientifically encouraged the broad development of dissertation and particularly of the first chapter. We also partly agreed with the second comment. However, in accordance with the object and subject of the dissertation, only the main manifestations of verbal creativity were highlighted, taking into account the characteristic features of the respective age group. We fully agreed with the third and the fourth comment and will take them into account in future scientific work. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the official opponent satisfied with the applicant's response?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Oksana Ivanivna, can we include in the decision of the specialized academic council those comments with which the applicant has agreed?
Yes.
Thank you. The floor is given to the official opponent, Doctor of Psychological Sciences, Associate Professor, Professor of the Department of General Psychology at Donbas State Pedagogical University of the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine, Mykola Volodymyrovich Savrasov.
Thanks. Considering that the full text of the official opponent's view presented at the main place of work with the qualified electronic signature presented on the official website of the West Ukrainian National University, allow me to present it on my report on main position and discussion points. Professional activity of a specialist, especially in the field of scientific research and pedagogy, requires a person to generate new and non-standard ideas, search for non-trivial solutions, which is the content of creativity as a mental formation. The relevance of this topic is also due to the need to resolve objective contradiction between the requirements of society for a successful, competitive, and to a high efficiency of a specialist professional activity. The provisions of the scientific post-non-classical paradigm, which is focused on the systematic study of the subject of activity in the structure of modern humanitarian knowledge, and the insufficient level of study of psychological factors of the development of verbal creativity, fragmentation in scientific knowledge about the verbal creativity of a specialist, the novelty of the research and the obtained result, the scientific novelty of the obtained results of qualification work or He Tін is due to the fact that the dissertation work from the point of view of modern psychological science is a holistic, complex, sequential study dedicated to solving an important scientific problem of the functioning of verbal creativity in the structure of creative abilities. Among the psychological research methods used in the work, the following should be distinguished. First of all, conceptual proposition of the activity approach, theoretical developments regarding the professional activity of a specialist, conceptual development in the field of professional creative ability, information about the structure and regularities of the development of verbal creativity, the concept of critical thinking, scientific proposition regarding creative activity, the meta-creativity of the individual. The dissertation consists of introduction, 3 sections, conclusion, a list of used literature, and appendix. The volume of the dissertation is 192 pages, of which the main content of 190 pages. The work contains 28 tables and 78 illustrations. The list of used literature includes 87 titles, 22 of which are in foreign English language. In the introduction, the author will provide a proper justification of the relevance of the choice of the research topics based on its relevance of feasibility of study. The first section, Theoretical Principles of the Study of Verbal Creativity in the System of Professional Creativity Abilities, reveals the content of the mental phenomena of verbal creativity from a psychological point of view, analyzes the psychological structure of the professional activity of a specialist, and describes the specific of manifestation of creativity in the process of solving professional tasks. The second section, Empirical Analysis of Verbal Creativity in the System of Creative Ability of a Specialist, is devoted to the issue of organizing research and choosing methods of diagnostic verbal creativity and its psychological correlates and predictors, studying the relationship between verbal creativity and professional creative ability. The third section, Program for the Development of Verbal Creativity as Determinants of Professional Creative Ability of Future Specialists, analyzed methods for developing verbal creativity in group training, which are important tools for the development of verbal creativity, allowing you to effectively express your thoughts with ideas. The conclusion of the dissertation adequately reflects the obtained research results, are characterized by clarity and logic, and have the appropriate scientific level. The practical significance of results obtained is that they can be used by university psychologists, management, and university teachers to create conditions for promotion the professional creative ability of future specialists, taking into account the identified patterns, professional specialists, and specifics and conditions for the purposeful formation of verbal creativity. The main provisions of the qualification work are presented and 6 scientific works, of which 3 articles in scientific professional publication approved by the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine, and 3 works of an approbational nature. The main provisions and results of the dissertation were discussed at scientific seminars and meetings of the Department of Psychology and Social Work of West Ukrainian National University, were properly presented at international and all-Ukrainian scientific and practical conference. Without denying the importance of scientific provision and conclusion, it's necessary to note a number of discussion issues. In the first section of the dissertation, in the process of analyzing verbal creativity as a psychological phenomena and its role and place in the process of professional functioning and psychological formation of specialists, it would be appropriate to additionally explain the specifics of its isolation from other types of creativity, which also occupy a certain place in the structure of professional formation of a specialist. Second, in the course of determining the typological features of verbal creativity of future and working specialists, 4 types of future were identified by the level of verbal creativity. In addition to describing the typological future for each type, it would be very good if there was some comparison of the distribution indicators of respondents, future and working specialists for each type. 3. Finally, in the process of determining the psychological predictors of verbal creativity of specialists, verbal intelligence, mnemonic abilities, it would be desirable to pay more attention to the psychological interpretation of the established empirical patterns. The comments and suggestions made do not reduce the overall position assessment, of the qualification work, but only indicate the multifaceted nature of scientific problem that the author was solving. The completeness of the dissertation as a whole and its compliance with the established requirements. He Tін dissertation research verbal creativity in the structure of professional creative abilities is an independent and completed work that meets the requirement of current legislation, contains new scientifically substantiated data that is a significant contribution to modern psychological science. Summarizing the above, it should be noted relevance, methodological level of scientific novelty, practical and theoretical significance, scope and content of the research conducted, level of theoretical argumentation and empirical verification. He Tín's dissertation work, the topic verbal creativity in the structure of professional creative ability, is an independent and completed research work in which substantial results were obtained. The dissertation fully complies with the established requirement of the procedure for awarding the degree of Doctor of Philosophy approved by the resolution of the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine number 44 dated January 11, 2022, and its author He Tін deserves to be awarded the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the specialty 053, Psychology in the field of knowledge, 05, Social and Behavioral Science. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Микола Володимирович. Please, I invite the applicant to respond to the comments of the official opponent.
We sincerely thank the reviewers for their thought analysis of the dissertation and valuable feedback. Allow me to give a few qualifications. We partially agreed with the first remark, since the pure expressions of the superficit of distinguishing the phenomenon of verbal creativity with the structure of professionals' developments of specialists would, to some extent, broaden the scope of the study far beyond the determinations of the root of these phenomena in the structure of professional creative abilities of the divergent vector. We fully agreed with the second and the third remark, and will take them into account in future scientific work. Thank you.
Thank you. Микола Володимирович, are you satisfied with the applicant's response?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you agree to include the remarks with which the applicant has agreed into the decision of the Specialized Academic Council? Микола Володимирович?
Yes.
Do you agree? Okay. Thank you. The floor is given to the official opponent, Doctor of Psychological Sciences, Professor of the Department of Psychology of Kharkiv National Pedagogical University, Katerina Igorівна Fomenko.
Thanks. I'm very appreciative to have this opportunity. The full text of my review is shown on the site, so let me introduce the most essential parts of it. The problem of the dissertation research of He Tін is important and relevant because today creative innovation activity becomes a necessary component of the professional activity of most specialists. The dissertation maintains a traditional structure. Both the work plan and its logical structure contribute to the disclosure of the problem and achieving the purpose of the study. It should be noted the multidimensionality of the scientific novelty of the dissertation research of He Tін. He Tін correctly selected and used valid methods and techniques in accordance with the subject, purpose, and objectives of the study, which made it possible to obtain a wide range of scientific results and achieve the purpose of the study. The research sample is representative. The introduction substantiates the relevance of the problem, scientifically correctly formulated the purpose, which is specified in the tasks. It identifies the object and subject, outlines the system of research methods used in the work, reveals the scientific novelty and practical significance of the results of the study. The theoretical chapter provides a review and analysis of scientific literature on the problem, the basic theoretical approaches to determine the psychological essence and structure of verbal creativity of personality are considered. It's important in the structure of creative abilities of specialists is shown. The second chapter of He Tін presents the results of the development of original methodology for the study of verbal creativity. The results of empirical study of psychological correlates and predictions of verbal creativity of specialists are shown. The chapter outlines the study of the level of development of verbal creativity of students and working professionals, identifies the place of verbal creativity in the structure of professional creative abilities. The third chapter provides the development of a program of improvement of verbal creativity of future specialists, proven its effectiveness. The work ends with logically constructed conclusions that summarize the content of the dissertation. Therefore, the analysis of the main part of the work indicates that the applicant during the study was achieved by the aim, and the dissertation is completed by scientific qualification work. The main provisions of the dissertation are reflected in 6 publications, of which 3 are articles in scientific professional publications approved by the Ministry of Education, Science of Ukraine. Highly evaluating the theoretical, methodological, level of He Tín's study, we note the following discussion provisions of the work, which may probably be directions of further development of this problem. Namely, the first, in the psychodiagnostics complex, the author created original tests to determine the level of development of verbal creativity, which involves the use of visual material only in a contact directly face-to-face with the interviewee. Today, in the context of distance learning and the benefits of using online forms in psychodiagnostics, counseling, difficulties in using this method in order to collect empirical material may occur. We consider it will be appropriate to offer adaptation of the test using metaphorical associative cards, which can be conveniently displayed in online form. The second, the study could be more complete if the author showed the specifics of the development of verbal creativity in specialists of creative specialists. And the third, the study could be more complete if the effectiveness of the proposed verbal creativity program was shown in the study of the effectiveness of the programs of development of verbal creativity, not only positive shifts in the indicators of verbal creativity, but also in other indicators of professional creative abilities. The remarks don't reduce the importance of He Tín's dissertation work, the reliability of its conclusions, scientific novelty, and the weight of the results obtained. General conclusions are the dissertation's research has been performed at a high scientific level, and whose scientifically grounded experimental results are significant contribution to modern Ukrainian psychology. The dissertation research on the topic verbal creativity in the structure of professional creative abilities is an independent, complete, creative scientific study which lacks violations of academic integrity. The content of and orientation of the research corresponds to the chosen specialty, or 5-3 psychology. The work has been properly approved and covered by sufficient publications. The dissertation research performed by He Tін on the topic verbal creativity and the structure of professional creative abilities is an independent, completed, creative scientific research that meets the requirements of procedure of awarding the degree of Doctor of Philosophy approved by the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine of January 22, number 44, and its author, He Tін, deserves to be awarded the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Specialty 053 Psychology. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Karina Igorівna. Please, I kindly ask the applicant to respond to the comments of the official opponent.
We sincerely thank the reviewers for their thought analysis of the dissertations and valuable feedback. Allow me to give a few qualifications. We agreed with the first and the third remark and will take them into account in future scientific work. We partially agreed with the second remark, acknowledging that would indeed by the inquiries to show and specifics of the development of valuable creativity among specialists of creative professions. However, this would significantly broaden the subject's method and research tasks defined in the dissertation. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the official opponent satisfied with the applicant's response?
Yes, I'm satisfied, thanks.
Thank you, Karina Igorівna. Do you agree to include the remarks with which the applicant has agreed into the decision of the Specialist Academic Council?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. In accordance with the regulations, we proceed to the discussion of the draft decision of the Council regarding the awarding of the Doctor of Philosophy degree, in which only the members of the Specialist Academic Council have the right to participate. Who would like to begin the discussion? Dear colleagues. The floor is given to Doctor of Psychological Sciences, Associate Professor, Professor of the Department of General Psychology of the State Higher Educational Institute, Donbas State Pedagogical University of the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine, Микола Володимирович Саврасов.
Thanks. It should be noted that from a theoretical and methodological point of view, in the structure of the functioning of a communicative, globalized society, professional verbal creativity plays a leading role in the formation of the competitiveness of a future specialist, contributing to the expansion of his professional knowledge and increasing his adaptability to dynamic change in the professional environment, contribution to the development of teamwork skills and enabling the career growth of a future specialist. And from an applied point of view, the formation of creativity as an integral feature of full functioning of a person in the modern professional world acts as a cornerstone of existing educational and professional standards regardless of the specialty. Therefore, the author's scientific position is modern, consistent, and logical. So I will support this work. No comments on the draft decision.
Thank you. The floor is given to Doctor of Psychological Sciences, Professor, Head of the Department of Social Psychology of Odessa Mechnikov National University, Oksana Ivanivna Kononenko.
The dissertation of verbal creativity in the structure of the professional creative abilities makes a positive impression that it's a clear theoretical justification and the relevance of the research. The author thoroughly reveals the role of verbal creativity as an important factor of the professional development of the realization of the specialist's creative potential. The work is distinguished by its scientific novelty and practical value and can make significant contribution to the development of the psychology of creativity. The author deserves to be awarded the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Psychology. The all positive statement on the dissertation with the remark, no comments of the draft discussion.
Thank you. The floor is given to Doctor of Psychological Sciences, Professor, Head of the Department of Psychology at Skovoroda, Kharkiv National Pedagogical University, Karina Igorevna Fomenko.
Thanks. I'd like to start on the most important positive aspects of this work. The results of dissertation distinguish the place of verbal creativity in the structure of professional creative abilities of future specialists. It shows psychological predictors of verbal creativity of future specialists. The work has expanded the specificity of the development of verbal creativity in specialists of different specialties and professions. The connections of verbal creativity with professional creative abilities of the individual are shown. The means of development and psychodiagnostics of the level of development of verbal creativity of personality were improved. It's also, I have to say that there are no more remarks regarding the draft decision. Thanks.
Thank you. The floor is given to candidate of Psychological Sciences, Associate Professor of the Department of Psychology and Social Work at West Ukrainian National University, Anastasiya Anatolievna Ятищук.
Thank you. The dissertation by He Tін, verbal creativity in the structure of professional creative abilities, is both relevant and timely. It defined the place of verbal creativity within the structure of professional abilities, identifies its psychology predictors, and proposes a development program that has practical application in education and psychological practice. The work is distinguished by its scientific novelty, the correctness of the applied methods, and the combination of theoretical and empirical analysis. Its practical significance is confirmed by the possibility of applying the obtained results in the education process and in the work of psychologists. So I believe that the dissertation fully meets the established requirements and its author deserves to be awarded the academic degree of Doctor of Philosophy in specialty 053 Psychology, and of course there are no remarks regarding the draft decision. Thank you.
Thank you. I also have a few words. I support this work. The problem of verbal creativity is quite relevant and requires further research. I think the applicant has sufficiently analyzed existing theoretical approach to the problem. The empirical research was carried out competently. The work contains scientific novelty. The work meets the basic requirement and demonstrates the applicant's sufficient qualifications as a researcher. Thus, there are no remarks regarding the draft decision. Are there any further additions to the draft in this discussion? No. Thus, the discussed draft decision can be taken as the basis. The floor for the final statement is given to the applicant for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, He Tін.
Thank you. Allow me to express my sincere gratitude to the Rector, Doctor of Economic Sciences, Professor Oksana Manivna Sanktievna, the Chair of the Academic Council, Doctor of Economic Sciences, Professor Audrey Eterology Kusavatit, and the Vice Rector of the Research, Doctor of Technical Sciences, Professor Macro Patrick Davis, for the opportunities to defend my qualification work at the West Ukrainian National University. To the Director of Educational and Research Center of Training and Sufficiency of Higher Education Applicants and Research Personnel at the West Ukrainian National University, Doctor of Economic Sciences, Professors Olena Yuryevna Storage, of organizational and scientific methodologicals and synthesis. to the chairpersons and members of one-tied specialized academic concert for the opportunities and conducts for the meeting for the defense of my qualification worth, as well as for their questions, remarks, and suggestions. To my scientific supervisor, Doctor of Psychological Sciences, Professor, Head of the Department of Psychological and Social Work at the West Ukrainian National University, Audrey Nostorovich Herniak, for his support, consultations, and scientific guidance in writing and qualification work. I would also like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to my dear classmates and Ukrainian friends who support me. Your kindness made me feel at home in a foreign land, and this moment will remain unforgettable in my life. Thank you all.
Thank you. Шановні члени разової спеціалізованої вченої ради, відповідно до пункту 28 Постанови Кабінету міністрів України від 12.01.2022 номер 44 із змінами, затвердженого нею порядку присудження ступеня доктора філософії та скасування рішення разової спеціалізованої вченої ради закладу вищої освіти, наукової установи про присудження ступеня доктора філософії, прошу проголосувати шляхом підняття руки щодо присудження здобувачці Хе Тін ступеня доктора філософії. Прошу голосувати підняттям рук. Хто за? 5 членів Ради. Проти? Немає. Утримались? Немає. Рішення прийнято одноголосно. Шановні колеги, ставлю на голосування питання про затвердження проекту рішення разової спеціалізованої вченої ради ДФ 58 082 078. Прошу проголосувати. Голосуємо підняттям руки. Хто за? Немає. Утримались? Немає. Рішення разової спеціалізованої вченої ради прийнято одноголосно. Дякую. Шановні колеги, таким чином, на підставі результатів голосування та прийнятого рішення разова спеціалізована вчена рада присуджує Тін Хе ступінь доктора філософії зі спеціальності 053 психологія, з чим і вітаємо Хе Тін. Чи будуть зауваження стосовно ведення засідання ради? Немає. Дякую всім, хто взяв участь в засіданні ради. Засідання ради оголошується закритим.